Hi everybody, hope you're having a good day. We are going to do a review of right triangle trig, but first let's do a warm up on what we learned yesterday, which was cosine. So find the angle measure using our cosine. Okay, so like I said, we're going to do a review of all of our right triangle trig. I do have a video here for you guys to watch. It just has a little catchy tune to it that hopefully will put the formulas into your brain a little bit more, okay? But basically, we've done sine, cosine, and tangent. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent, and we call it SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so if you ever hear talk about a math terminology called SOHCAHTOA, that is what we're talking about, and that's what that little jingle is all about. So the first thing we're going to do is decide based on the information we're given which one of our formulas we're going to use. We've done a great job of being able to find the tangent when we know we have to find the tangent, or find the sine when we know we have to find the sine. But now you're going to have to determine which formula to use by looking at the sides and seeing which formula it matches up to. So that's what we're going to spend some time doing first, and then we will start doing some solving. So looking at this one, we just want to look and see what formula we are actually going to be using. So I am going to pull this up a lot more. And we know that in this triangle, we have this side and we have this side. Well, one of them is a hypotenuse, right? That's always directly across from the 90-degree angle. And one of them is an opposite. So the only formula that we have that is opposite in hypotenuse is sine, okay? Or sine if we're going to use it that way. Okay, so sine is what we would use for this triangle. So let's look at this next one. So again, I'm going to pull up my Elmo so that we can zoom in on this. Okay, so first of all, you should notice right away that we do not have anything over here, which means we do not have a hypotenuse, which means we cannot use any of our formulas that need a hypotenuse. That leaves the only formula left would be tangent with an opposite and an adjacent. Okay, so you want to pay attention to details as you're working through this. Let's look at this next one. What are we looking at on this next one? So first thing you should notice again is if I draw it across, we have the hypotenuse that we're looking for. Oh, for some reason I froze. There we go. So we do have the hypotenuse, and then also here we have a side that is touching our angle, which we know is the adjacent side. So the only formula we know that has adjacent and hypotenuse is the cosine. Okay? So you're just looking at the bits and pieces of information that is given to you to be able to determine what you're doing. So you're going to try this next one. Let me make it a little bit bigger. You are going to figure out, are we using sine, cosine, or tangent to solve this problem? Okay, so here's another one. Look at the side lengths that you are given and make a determination. Are we going to use sine, cosine, or tangent on this problem? All right, and last one, look at the side lengths that you're given and determine sine, cosine, or tangent for this one. All right, so now that we're getting better at being able to identify what we're using, we are going to not only identify, but now we're going to actually go through and solve. So if we pull up this triangle, we should automatically see that we do not have a hypotenuse. So that means we know that we are using the tangent, okay? And because we're solving for an angle, we know that we're using the inverse tangent. So now we just have to determine which side is opposite and which side is adjacent. So remember, opposite is directly across. So in this case, it would be 9, and the adjacent would be 12. And if I type that into my calculator, I end up getting about 36.9 degrees or 37 degrees. Okay? So again, it's just a matter of figuring out our formula and then knowing how to plug it in. So here's another one. Okay, here is another one. This one again, we got to figure out what we are using for a formula. We do have a hypotenuse, which means we're not using tangent. So from this side, we know we're using the opposite, which means we are using sine. Opposite is 11.3. Hypotenuse is 21. So we would use the inverse sine of 11.3 divided by 21. And we would get about 32.6 degrees. Okay. So you guys try this one. Okay, let me make it bigger for you. And you guys take the information you have to be able to determine which formula you're using and then also plug it in and solve it. All right, so we're going to keep going. Okay, you guys are going to find the angle on this one as well. Okay, use the information you're given and find the angle. Okay, here's another one. We have two more. So this one is another one. Figure out what formula and find the angle. All right, and last problem. Figure out which formula you need to use and find the angle. When you are finished with this Edpuzzle, there is a 10-question quizzes assignment that you need to complete that is going to do the same thing. You're going to be figuring out which formula you're using, and then you're going to be plugging it in, finding your information, okay? So if you have not written down your formulas, if you have not written down any of that information, I would highly recommend that you are getting that written down and getting that done prior to when we're going to take the test on Friday. It's going to make your life so much easier. All right, so go ahead and find the angle on this one and get started on your quizzes assignment.